Am I the mean person for not wanting to meet or get to know my birth family after they tracked me down and reached out? I am a 29-year-old male who was adopted as an infant by my parents. They already had my older brother, who was 3 at the time. They adopted my sister 3 years after they adopted me. I was raised in a loving, happy home. We were all treated the same, and my brother, their biological son, was not favored or treated any different for being blood. None of us were lied to about the circumstances of our family. My parents were open about adopting my sister and me. They never tried to demonize our birth families either. They knew practically nothing about our birth families, but they still spoke of them kindly and compassionately. Maybe it is just in my nature, or maybe it is because I had such a good life, but I never wondered about my birth family. No part of me ever considered trying to find them or have a relationship. I was just happy as I was and am. My life is good. I have a wonderful wife, 2 great kids, amazing parents, siblings and siblings-in-law, and grandparents. For me, there is nothing missing. That is why it took me a while to respond 6 months ago when I was contacted by people saying they were my birth parents. It was confirmed true. They told me their story and wanted to connect with me. They broke up for 5 years after I was born, and then they got back together. They had more kids and only had an interest in me for the last 2 years. Before that, they never thought about me. Their kids wanted to know me. Their kids really wanted to know me. I have received more than 24 messages from their kids since my birth parents reached out.
Am I the mean person for not wanting to meet or get to know my birth family after they tracked me down and reached out? Part 2. It took me about 11 weeks to reply, and I finally said I had a great life, but did not wish to connect with them. So please leave me be. Then I blocked the accounts and made my socials private. About 3 weeks later, I received an email telling me they did not think it was fair and that I should at least meet the kids. I did not respond, and 2 months after the first email, I got another one. This time, they said they had family medical history they would share with me only if I agreed to meet them and let them spend some time getting to know me. This was followed up by an email from their children saying I should really consider why I do not want to meet my real family and why I am so loyal to parents who bought me. Some information was given to me by my birth family about my adoption, for those who might want extra context. My birth parents were only 16 when I was born. They put me up for adoption through an agency, but did not meet or choose my parents. The choice was left to the woman at the agency who set it up for them. They did not leave any letter or family medical history to be passed on to me, and never collected a letter my parents wrote to them when they adopted me. They have zero interest in ever reading that letter. Their kids are all mostly adults and found out about me through other birth family members, not from my birth parents. Their kids wanted to meet me as soon as they found out I existed. They eventually found me through some private investigator online, and I don't know how much contact info they got. They never mentioned his name, but I wish he had reached out to me first so I could have said no. Now I have no idea what ways they could realistically reach me on. They do not know that I am married, or that I have children, which at least is a positive. My family supports my decision regardless of which way I go, but I have had backlash from some fellow adoptees. They say they would love what is being offered to me, and they think it is selfish to deny my birth family the chance to know me and to deny my kids' blood relatives. So this has made me ask if I am wrong. I do not feel like I am when I ask myself, but I don't know if I can accept that I never gave these people a chance, and it's because I don't feel I should have to. Imagine saving for your child's future their whole life, only to spend it on your new spouse instead. Would that make you a bad parent? Am I the a-hole for revoking my daughter's college fund? Part 1. I know it sounds bad, but please hear me out. When my wife and I divorced, my daughter 14 female took my wife's side, which I was pretty upset and surprised about. She was 12 when we separated, and we were very close, unlike her and her mother. I didn't hold in against her because she's a kid and didn't know any better, and I make the effort to see her. I love spending time with my daughter. I met my current wife 4 years ago. She was pre-law and was planning on taking loans to pay for law school. However, about 2 years later, we were engaged, and I didn't want her to take on any loans, so I offered to pay for law school. She was apprehensive, but I wanted a good start to our married life and not want any loans hanging over our heads, so she agreed. I used my daughter's college fund to pay for my wife's school and planned on replenishing it so that my daughter would have a fund when it was her turn to go to college. I put a little money each month. I honestly thought this was okay because when I had asked her about college at the time of doing this, she said that she wanted to go to makeup school and be a makeup artist, and that college sucks. Well, apparently her mindset changed because on Sunday we met up and she was talking about AP classes. I was surprised because I didn't think she was interested in school. I asked her if she was joking, but she said that she's aiming for computer science at some top private college and that her dream is to start a startup business. She then asked me if she had a college fund, and she wanted to know if she should add on an extracurricular or get a job. I told her the truth about her college fund and that right now there's not enough money for even a year at a private college. She then started crying and making a scene and told me that she couldn't believe that I chose my wife over her mom and now I'm choosing her again over my daughter. Which is not true since my daughter is getting a fund, just not private school tuition. She then called my wife a bunch of awful names that I won't say here. I told her that she's probably not going to get into a private school because she wasn't even serious about school 2 years ago. She called me a horrible dad and ran away until her mom came to get her. Her mom later called me angrily about what I said to her and said that my daughter is on track to win some prestigious science fair award, and I was way out of line with what I said and that I obviously don't know her. I was honestly so done with the horrible stuff she pulled, and her attitude toward my wife never has been good, and said that I'm probably going to revoke my daughter's college fund since she obviously doesn't deserve it with what she pulled today. My daughter is now refusing to see me and calling me by my first name. I still stand by my decision. Am I the a-hole? He thought he was fixing one mistake. But instead, he tore apart his marriage, his family, and maybe even lost his daughter forever. Am I the a-hole for revoking my daughter's college fund? Part 2. Edit. I'm done with the rude comments about my wife. It's, am I the a-hole, not is my wife the a-hole? Not that you guys deserve any additional information, but my wife really is great. I'll accept an a-hole judgment for me cheating, even though it's really not what I'm asking in this post, but everyone seems to be dead set on it. I was a super a-hole for cheating. Happy? My wife wasn't. When we met, I was 32 and she was 20. We had a casual relationship, and I didn't mean to start it, but she was so amazing and had such a vibrant personality, and I was really depressed at that time, but she helped uplift me. I didn't tell her I was married, only that I had a daughter. And I know that's bad, but I didn't feel married to my ex-wife at that time. I was so unhappy, and she was too. My wife and I had an amazing relationship, and as she was going to be graduating college soon, she wanted to get serious. I told her the truth and my wife was upset, but she decided to forgive me. I proposed and introduced her to my daughter, and she hoped we would be a family. She was nothing but kind to my daughter, but my daughter was hostile from the minute she met her, never gave a chance. My daughter and my mom would play cruel pranks on her, like organizing a date and never showing up, ruining her wedding dress, spreading rumors about her to all my relatives, making fun of her to her face. My wife took the high route and forgave all of that, only speaking highly of my daughter. Even to her friends, she'll brag about how pretty and amazing my daughter is and how she's sure my daughter will accept her when she's a bit older. So, yes, my wife is saint and an amazing person. Stop trashing on her, Reddit. You got your backstory. Edit. I will keep my daughter's fund and try to add enough money for private school. If she doesn't apologize and consider my wife her family, though, she won't be getting it. I'd rather her be hostile to me and hate me rather than my wife, since I really messed up, but my wife is feeling guilty over something that's not her mistake. Edit. So a lot of stuff went down after I posted this, or because I posted this, actually. My wife called my daughter's mother because she felt bad about the situation and is sad about my relationship with my daughter. She insisted on the remaining money in the account, about $45,000, to my daughter in a separate fund controlled by her mother. Her mother didn't take that well and hung up on my wife after telling her that she didn't need her charity. My wife now won't talk to me because she feels that I put her in a bad position, and should have told her before that the money was my daughter's, because she figured that it was just extra money I had left over and not my daughter's fund. She's saying that I caused unnecessary drama and could have handled the situation way better. She's trying her best to fix what I broke, but she's exhausted. She's currently packing to go stay with her parents for the time being, so that's that. My ex-wife is furious at me because my wife called her and she didn't want to hear my wife's nasty tone. She blew up at me for taking everything so far and is blaming me for ruining everyone's happiness. She says that can't fix anything anymore and not to even worry about my daughter's fund. She said she didn't raise her daughter to get on all four knees and beg, and that she has everything figured out for her daughter now. She thanked me for putting everything in perspective and that I'm not longer permitted to visit or contact my daughter. She has full custody. I'm now sitting here typing all this out and figuring out ways to contest custody, so that's what's happening in my life right now. I just don't get how everything got all messed up when my heart is in the right place. I don't feel wrong. You want us to refer to you by your job title? Okay then. Part 1. In a previous role, I came across the epitome of bad management. A young man who had been smarmy enough to work his way into a leadership role without ever having to actually do the job he was managing. Unsurprisingly, he was less than effective. To use his words, we were the skilled team that worked for him. He was in the management. There are a few stories I could share about this guy, including one where he said I was too attractive to do my job, but that's for another time. This particular story was when our previous leader left, and we ended up with him. Our new leader was very particular about his role. He wasn't just a leader, he was a production leader. He was insistent we call him by his job title. If we said, "the boss says," or "the gaffer says," he would correct us. No, it had to be, "the production leader says." Please respect his job. Thanks. I assume this was his pretentious way to seem important. Remember, I said he had never worked the job before. He never quite understood the details of what he was asking. His eyes would glaze over and his mind would wander to metrics and key performance indicators whenever someone said, "That won't work. We need to do this step first before we put the job on the machines." For the most part, we just worked it out ourselves and explained what we couldn't. More glazing over followed. His general attitude didn't sit well with us, especially how he thought he was better than the grunts actually doing the work. One small thing sticks in my mind. The previous boss, who had retired, always said, "our team." The new guy always said, "my team." Small difference, but it speaks volumes. You want us to refer to you by your job title? Okay, then. Part 2. So we decided to maliciously comply. You want to be called by your job title? Sure. We abbreviate everything, including your job title. Production Leader Operations. That became PL Ops, which very quickly became Plops. I can't take credit for the nickname, but it spread super quick. Within 36 hours, every shift knew we had to follow Plop's orders. For non-English speakers, plop is the sound of something falling into a toilet. Plops was obviously very unhappy with his new nickname. Just imagine the most nasally voice saying, "I am a production leader," to a group of men who had been in the trade since before he was born, and you'll understand how respected he was. For the rest of his short career in that role, we called him Plops. It infuriated him. To give you an example of a typical incident, 3 of the shop floor guys are standing in the factory talking. Plops sees this and walks over to chastise them for not working. "Excuse me, gents," he says. "What's up, Plops?" one replies. "I'm a production leader. Why aren't you on your machines?" "We're trying to figure out how to do the job." "What? Aren't you trained for this?" "We are, Plops. Been doing this for 24 years. The guys explained the problem. There weren't enough tools for all 3 of them to work at the same time. Each job required 2 sets of tools per machine. They only had 4 sets of tools. Plops admitted nobody told him that. The guys explained how they normally split the job into tasks so everyone could keep working. "Do you have a better solution?" one of them asked. No, do that." "Thanks for your advice, Plops." You want us to refer to you by your job title? Okay then. Part 3. He walked away looking very red, with the guys bursting out laughing in earshot. Plops complained numerous times, and the chief of production gave us a half-hearted telling off. We later found out he also hated Plops for constantly bringing up the nickname, expecting something to be done. The chief often told him, "This isn't school. Play along, and it will go away." Spoiler, it didn't. Fast forward to one day when Plops was late for a site-wide meeting. He entered the room, and voices called out, "What time do you call this, Plops?" And, "Good grief, it's Plops o'clock." The director of operations was at the front. He paused his speech, then continued. At one point, he asked if anyone had questions. Plops's hand shot up. "Apologies for being late, but I had a question about the half-year business projections given the ramp-up in production. Was this already covered, or is now a good time to ask?" This had nothing to do with our work. It was obvious Plops just wanted to sound important. The director replied, "Not a problem, Herr Plops. Maybe save that for the end." The room erupted in laughter. The director didn't know his real name and thought Plops was it. Someone explained it was a nickname. The director apologized, but Plops, trying to hide his embarrassment, said, "Don't worry, it wasn't important." After the meeting, he excused himself. We didn't see him for the rest of the day. You want us to refer to you by your job title? Okay then. Part 4. A few days later, Plops announced at a meeting that he had accepted a similar role at another site and would be transferring the next week. Turns out he had complained again, this time about the director, and the chief had finally had enough. Another facility needed a temporary replacement for someone on maternity leave, so Plops was parachuted into that role. We weren't sad to see him go. He even forgot to bring cakes on his last day. At his new facility, when he introduced himself as John, the new production leader, a chorus of voices replied, "Well said, Plops." The nickname had followed him. Eventually, we got a new production leader, someone with real experience. On his very first day, he brought homemade samosas and invited everyone to stop by his office for a chat. When I walked up, I noticed the new sign on his office door. It read, "Plops Office. AITA for going on a family trip right after without my daughter who just started college. I'm 52 and just got off the phone with my daughter, 18, and I think I made her cry. I feel bad, but I also don't understand exactly why. A few months ago, I began planning a surprise trip for my wife's 50th birthday this October. I thought it would be a perfect time for a little getaway, since we've been raising kids for the past 20 years and haven't had much alone time. My oldest, 20, has been in college for a few years now, and this year my middle child just left for college too. This leaves just my youngest, 15, at home. I figured it would be okay to leave him for a bit. The issue started when I decided where we'd be going. My wife has wanted to visit Portugal for a long time, so I thought that would be the natural choice. But my middle daughter has also expressed a strong desire to go to Portugal. She and my wife even discussed taking the trip together one day. I figured it would be fine if I took my wife without her. About a week ago, I decided I couldn't keep the trip a secret anymore, so I told my youngest. He said he wouldn't be comfortable staying home alone for a week. After some thought, I decided he could come along too. I didn't want him alone for so long, and it might be good for him to get travel experience. He agreed to keep the trip secret from his mom, but he didn't keep it from my oldest. I hadn't told her before because she's so busy, but when she found out, she managed to take the entire week off work. That's rare for her, so of course I said she could come along too. Unfortunately, this meant the only person not going was my middle daughter, the one who really wanted to go, so I called her and told her about the trip. I didn't expect her to take it well, but she took it really badly. Once I filled her in, she got quiet, and I think she started crying before hanging up. Afterwards, I worried she'd tell her mom, which I can't have, since I want this to stay a surprise. To remind her, I messaged her. Good to chat. Again, it's a surprise, so don't mention it to Mom. Love you. The trip is happening right before her midterms and she's out of state, so there's really no way she could come. I just hope she calms down since at this point there's nothing to do. I expected more emotional maturity out of her, I guess. I think she's being a bit of a spoiled brat, honestly. But I also understand this could really hurt our relationship, and that's the last thing I want. What should I do? Follow One Above All Reddit and let us know what you think in the comments.